Hi, I'm Rocco Staino, and welcome to StoryMakers. Today, I have the middle grade author, Carol Weston, with me, and your Ava trilogy. Well, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here, Rocco.
Yes, and you must be delighted also to have the New York Times say that your book was a love letter to language.
That was a very wonderful day, Mother's Day, 2014. 2-column review in the New York Times Book Review. And this was actually my 13th book, Lucky 13, and suddenly the New York Times said, hey, this woman's been writing some books, and paid attention, and I was thrilled, yes.
Yeah, well, I, having read the book, understand why they called it a love letter to language, but maybe you can tell us why you think they said it was a love letter to language.
Well, I'm definitely a word nerd. And Ava is as well. Her dad's a playwright. She asks on the very first page, why did you name me Ava? And they're at dinner, and Dad says, well, it's a palindrome. And she says, palin what? He says a word that is the same backwards and forwards, like D-A-D, dad. And Mom says an M-O-M, mom. And big sister Pip says P-I-P, Pip. And Mom's name is Anna. That's palindrome. Dad's name is Bob. And Ava's, she sort of says, huh? And then they explain it again. She says, wow, her world is rocked. So there's a lot of palindromes throughout the book.
Your first book is, well, we said it's a trilogy. The first one is Ava and Pip, and then this Ava and
Taco Cat. And it's
yes.
really sweet when I talk at schools to 4th and 5th graders, and they're trying to understand palindrome, and I explain that, Taco Cat backwards is also a palindrome, and they kind of get it. But in the first book, Ava, she's a 5th grader in all 3 books, but she feels a little bit invisible in her own family, and she's a really good kid. But Pip, her big sister, is so very shy. I don't want to say painfully shy, because shy is fine, quiet is fine, but if you're so shy you can't talk, it is painful. Mm-hmm. And so her parents, good parents that they are so concerned about Pip's well-being that they're not really realizing that poor little Ava feels invisible, and Ava does her best to help her sister find her voice, and in doing so she finds her own. It's
a great sister story, and also teaches a lesson that when you write something, it lasts forever.
It stays written.
It stays written.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It does. Ava misunderstands the situation. Shy Pip is finally going to be brave and have a little birthday party for her 13th birthday. And meanwhile, there's a new kid in school named Bee, and she has a great big boy-girl party in 7th grade, which is a big deal. So suddenly Pip's birthday party is a bust, and Ava assumes that Bee is a mean, terrible person and writes something awful about her. And it's thinly disguised. It's called Sting of the Queen Bee, and she puts it out in a contest, and it wins, an honorable mention, and it gets a lot of acclaim. And meanwhile, Bee's this nice kid who happened to be having a birthday party. She had meant no ill. And so it is a misunderstanding that kind of spins out of control. And Ava's a good kid, and she didn't mean to do a bad thing, but she did.
And Taco Cat.
So in Taco Cat, in Ava and Taco Cat, Ava really, really, really wants a pet. But the mom works at a vet, and the mom comes home one day and tells the sad story about this cat that's got a bite out of its ear, and it's been in a fight with a coyote, actually, and gashed. And Ava feels bad for the cat and says, you can't send it to the, shelter. It'll be destroyed. We have to save this cat. And she wears her parents down. And they do ultimately adopt the cat. First, the cat just hangs out under the sofa and under the bed, as rescued cats are wont to do. And then they finally get the cat to purr, and they finally get the cat to feel at home. But at the very end, when again Ava, who's such a good writer, writes a story called The Cat Who Would Not Purr, and it gets in the Misty Oaks Journal, and it's such a proud, happy moment, but a woman sees a picture of Ava and sees a picture of the cat and recognizes the cat.
Oh.
It might have been a rescue cat. So the woman comes to the door, and I won't tell you what happens.
No, don't tell us.
And I do want to say that children's books never end too sad.
And I don't think Ava Xox is going to be a sad book. I think.
No, Ava Xox, which is
how
also
old
a
is
palindrome.
Ava in this book?
So Ava's still 11.
In all 3 books.
In all 3 books.
Well, she had a very busy school year.
Well, she's quite the prolific diarist. It's funny, she actually doesn't like to read. Her whole family's big readers. She herself's a little afraid of big books, but she's always writing at night. And I was kind of that way myself, where I would keep a diary, but I didn't really read big books until Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in 6th grade, and then I was won over. But in Ava Xox, she's got this friend. His name is Chuck. He's been her best guy friend forever. She likes it that way. He likes it that way. They're good to go. But then there's this girl in school named Kelly. You know the term femme fatale? She's like a fille fatale. And she hits on young Chuck right on page 1. And he's so discombobulated, he barely knows what happens.
You get those middle grade girls right there on page 1, right?
She kind of passes him a note saying, do you want to go out? And he doesn't want to hurt his feelings. And she makes a sad puppy dog face, so he checks sure, and suddenly he's got a girlfriend, and Ava's kind of crushed, but didn't realize that her feelings for Chuck were as complicated as they are.
But now, Carol, it is time to play How Well Do You Know Your Book? So Ava has a pen that she's very fond of. And her father bought the pen where?
At the Dublin Writers' Museum.
Now,
in Ireland.
Why is that?
That's so funny that you should ask. Well, my husband, who's a playwright, Rob Ackerman, he and I went there with our kids a couple of years ago. It was such a great museum.
So my next question is the name of the school librarian.
Mr. Ramirez.
So I found that very interesting because I am a retired school librarian, and I mean, we are kind of outnumbered. Being a male school librarian. And so I found it very interesting that you have a male school librarian.
I lived in Spain for a few years, so I guess I wanted to make him Mr. Ramirez, but I didn't think about the gender so much.
Another character with I thought an interesting name was the principal.
Is it Gupta? No.
Gupta.
Gupta.
Yeah, and I guess it's because I'm saying, well, how do I say this? It's Gupta, thank you. So does that name have any meaning?
I mean, I'm lucky that I do live right here in New York City, and I'll take the subway and I'll go talk at a school in one of the boroughs. People in children's literature use the word and the hashtag diversity, but you just see it visually on the subway and then at the school. And when I'm speaking to kids, it's clearly, I just want everyone to feel included.
I don't know if our viewers realize that you are also Dear Carol, the Dear Carol from Girls Life magazine, which is an advice column that you've been writing for a good many years, since that magazine actually first began in like 1994.
Yes, it's true.
We're going to give our viewers an example of what you actually do in Girls Life. And I am going to be the letter writer here. It's a mean girl problem. I've been going to my school for a while, and this girl is really mean to me. I've tried confronting her, but she just walks away. My friends stand up for me, but she never stops. She won't leave me alone, and I constantly feel like she is judging me. What should I do?
Let's see what I said. I know this isn't the answer you expect, but stop caring about her. If you were to walk past a mean dog that snarled, you wouldn't pet it or yell at it. You'd keep walking. I'm glad your friends stand up for you, so focus on them. I'm sorry this girl is mean, but let this be her problem, not your problem. Keep living your life. Who cares if she thinks she gets to judge you? You're kind of judging her, right? Besides, she's probably having less fun being her than you're having being you.
I feel much better.
Do you? I hope so. GL.
So you're like that Dear Abby of the young girls set.
Newsweek called me the Dear Abby for teens. It's
the
true.
Dear Abby for teens.
It's been a great run. First of all, I'm the mother of 2 daughters, and I was so lucky that I had this as my profession. I was also reviewing picture books for Red Book, so I'd have my kids on my lap, and we'd be reading picture books, and I'd be thinking about girl problems, and then my own girls are now grown now, but the girl letters have never stopped, so I've never really lost track of what it feels like to be in middle school.
The 11 and 12-year-old girl that may have written you a letter could be now in her 30s.
Maybe even 40.
Yeah. Have they ever written you back later in life?
Oh, yes. No, they have. I mean, my office is not very tidy, but on the walls, everything that's, and there's a lovely, sweet letter, I kind of thumbtack it up there.
Right.
So I have a lot of really sweet letters that from people who liked the book when they were this age, or, well, Girl Talk when they were, middle schoolers, and now they have a niece or they have a daughter. And, my dad died when I was 25, which was terrible, but I think it made me empathetic and compassionate and understanding that not every girl's got a mom and a dad who's right there to say hooray every time something good happens. So my book that's coming out later this year in September is called The Speed of Life, and there's a mother character who dies before the book begins, and there's an advice columnist character in it too. But it's a book about a 14-year-old girl who loses a parent, and the book starts out she feels her life is over, but by the end of the book she realizes she's 14, her life is just beginning.
Talking about drawing from your own life, when you were saying tacking up a letter in your office, her dad does that too. He tacks up a letter about a play and with a quote from Oscar Wilde.
Is it the play? The play was a success. The audience was a disaster.
Disaster, yes.
That's pretty close.
Yes. Well, thanks for stopping by, and
thank
thanks
you
for
so
telling
much.
us about Ava, and looking forward to your next book. Remember, until next time, give a kid a book in any format.